In our case, for example, any battery that we sell as a replacement battery, we take the old one back because that old one back has to go in for a recycling or for refurbishment, and then it goes into different applications. So recycling is going to be a very important factor when we go along. What's going to happen is there is going to be a multitude of new industries which come in and which don't exist in India at this point of time. When we look at, I've spoken about some of them. Now, recycling is another very important factor. Now, so far we have recycling that's happening of batteries and collection of batteries from phones and computers, etc. But the volumes have not been large enough for complete recycling plants here for lithium recycling. So what's going to happen is that when we look at recycling, and I'm specifically talking about the batteries here. Now, when you look at the lithium-ion batteries, for example, and they go in for a recycling plant, first, recycling is still very far away because what they would do is from automotive, they would be refurbished and go into stationary applications. All our UPSs and all our inverters and even energy storage at the grid level, where you're storing the energy from maybe solar or from the renewable sources, those would be stored using lithium-ion batteries. And those batteries, after they've done with that business, after they're done with that work, they would then go in for recycling. So there is going to be a substantial amount of recycling need, but that's still a while away. We need to start setting up now in order to get ready for what's going to happen later. And even then, what would happen is, unlike something like a lead acid battery, where there are chemicals which are thrown into the ground or by some of the irresponsible recyclers, in this case, what would happen is that the metals that get extracted from here, because they're so expensive, they would get extracted and then be reused into batteries again. And they would go into different forms of batteries for different applications. So recycling is going to be a very substantial industry to play going forward. Now, in terms of the reverse logistics, when we're talking about vehicles going out and then material coming back in, here what happens is it's a very integrated system. You're not going to unlike an IC engine where you have to actually go to a fuel pump to actually tank up on your fuel and then you go to a service station, etc. In this case, in electric, what would happen is that you are very well just charging your vehicles at home or at your workplace or wherever you're going. And that's more for top up. But you don't necessarily need to go to either a charging station or you don't need to go to a petrol pump or something on those lines going forward. So there is going to be a dramatic shift that happens. Also, the vehicles which are going out, the companies which are taking the vehicles out, would be bringing back, because what happens is, like in our case, for example, any battery that we sell as a replacement battery, we take the old one back because that old one back has to go in for a recycling or for refurbishment, and then it goes into different applications. So recycling is going to be a very important factor when we go along. And it's not just for automotive, but those batteries are going to be also coming in from the consumer sectors.